Okay, this next video should be a review of what the previous video was covering. So we're going to review about how to recognize what pair of angles we're looking at, whether they're corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, same side interior, vertical, or adjacent. So again, this should be a review. So if I look at problem number 1, okay, it's not too complicated of a picture. So if you notice, I've got two parallel lines cut by a transversal. My transversal would be, sorry about that, would be right here in blue. Okay, so with respect to that, okay, X and Y are both exterior angles, so I know my answer is going, since they're both exterior, I know my answer is going to have to do something about exterior angles. Okay, and since you notice, hopefully, that they're both on opposite sides of the transversal, Y is on the left, and X is on the right, these are going to be alternate exterior angles. So all you have to do is just name it. What kind of angles are you looking at? Okay, so if I move on to number 2. So again, with respect to my two parallel lines, I notice that X and Y are both interior angles. They're between the two lines. Okay, now the question is, if they're both interior, they're either going to be same side interior or they're going to be alternate interior. So if you notice here, X and Y are both on the right side of the transversal. So they're on the same side of the transversal and they're interior angles. So these two are going to be same side interior angles. So again, if they're on the same side of the transversal and they're interior, they're going to be same side interior. Okay, moving on. Number 3. These, if I'm looking at the two parallel lines again, we've got one interior, which is Y, and we've got one exterior, which is X. So they can't be alternate interior. They can't be same side interior because they're one of each. But if you notice, if you look at this top group of 4, Y is in the bottom left. If you look at the bottom group of 4, X is in the bottom left. So if they're in the same position, remember we call them corresponding angles. So number 3 is an example of corresponding. Okay, on number 4, these two, okay, notice they have one's interior, one's exterior. Y is in the interior, X is in the exterior. They have a common vertex here. Their sides, if you notice, are opposite rays. The sides of angle X are in blue. The sides of angle Y here are in red. So if you remember from the previous video, this is an example of vertical angles. Vertical angles have a common vertex and their sides go in opposite directions. Okay, if I continue on here with number 5. They are both interior angles. So again, with respect to my parallel lines, X and Y are both between the lines, so they're interior angles. Notice that angle Y is on the left side of the transversal and angle X is on the right side. So because of that, we can state these are alternate interior angles. Okay, Y is on the left, X is on the right, and they're both interior. Okay, so last but not least, we have number 6. This is an example of what we call adjacent angles, or even to be more specific, this is an example of a linear pair. So remember, adjacent angles are angles that have a common vertex and a common side. Okay, notice angle Y and angle X both have this as the vertex, and in maroon here, that is the side. Now, the reason that I said they're also a linear pair, if you have two angles that form a straight angle or that form a line, like these two together make this whole line here, that means their sum is 180. Okay, they're also going to be a linear pair. Now, the directions didn't give you an option of linear pair, but if I did, they would be more specifically a linear pair. So what we're going to do next is we are going to practice talking about how these particular angles are related. So at the bottom of my page of notes here, we are going to find the question mark angle in the picture. Okay, so just bear with me as I'm dealing with the computer here, trying to get it to scroll. Okay. so on these, on 7 through 12, it says find the angle indicated. So on number 7, this is an example. I know it's not asking us to list it out, but these two angles are an example of vertical angles. And if you remember from the previous video, vertical angles are congruent. One of the reasons is you could rotate the 69 degrees on top of the other one. So if vertical angles are congruent, my missing angle, my question mark angle, is going to be 69 degrees. Remember, congruent means they are equal. So if I take a look at the next picture, number 8, the 54-degree angle and the question mark, these two are corresponding angles. And again, thinking about this, corresponding angles are congruent as well. If I take this 54-degree angle and I could slide it up, it would fit perfectly on top of my question mark angle. Okay, so since corresponding angles are congruent, my question mark angle in this picture is going to be 54 degrees also. Remember congruent means they're the same. Okay, continuing on to number 9. The two angles in this particular picture, okay, are the 61 and this question mark here. These two angles, if you think about names, these are same side interior angles. Now, this is not something we've talked about yet at this point. Same side interior angles are supplementary. Supplementary means their sum is 180. So one way to help you remember this, think of same side, you got the S's, so same side angles are going to be supplementary. So if they are supplementary, to find this question mark angle here, we're going to take 180 degrees minus the one we know. So we know that angle is 61. So this particular angle is going to be 119. So again, to figure out this question mark angle right there with the question mark, we're going to take, since they're same side interior, we're going to take 180 minus the angle that we know, which is 61, and get 119. Okay, so if we move on to number 10, these two angles are adjacent. Okay, specifically, they form, like we talked about in a little bit above, a linear pair. These two together make a line, this whole line here. And I was saying linear pair, a straight angle is 180 degrees. So two angles that make a linear pair are considered to be supplementary. So just like in the previous problem, to find this question mark angle, we're going to take 180 minus the angle that we know, which is 94. So that leaves me with this particular angle to be 86 degrees. Okay, so if I continue on for the last two, let me erase this one. Okay, so this particular example is a picture of your alternate exterior angles. Remember, alternate exterior angles are exterior angles, which these obviously both are, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So the question mark angle is on the right and the 110 degree angle is on the left. And alternate interior angles are congruent, so my question mark angle here is also going to be 110 degrees. Okay, so last but not least, we have this last pair of angles in number 12. These two angles listed in the picture are alternate interior angles. Oops, let's try that again. They are alternate interior angles. Okay, one more time here. They are alternate interior angles. And again, alternate interior angles are congruent. So if this angle here in the picture is 131, that means my missing angle over here is also 131. Okay, so after watching this video, you have a short worksheet just with different problems, same kind of concept. When you're finished with this, then you're going to be ready to take the quiz. The quiz over this is basically, it's going to be on the computer, and Miss Little can give you the link for it when you're ready for it. But it's going to be some basics about, naming some angles in a picture. It'll be multiple choice for the first half. And then the second half, I'm going to give you a real life picture that I found on the internet, and I'm going to ask you to trace a pair of, for example, corresponding angles in the picture, or maybe trace a pair of vertical angles, different things like that.